Hello, everyone. Welcome to the teams. I'm the Pom. G'day to you all. I hope you are doing really well. As per usual, like Dog is late for a very important date. So it's just me. But I mean, I'm all right. I'm a veteran of this. I'm a veteran of just being on my own. You know what I mean? I'm lonely. But don't worry, you don't have to hear me sing too long. I've got him here in blue. You're right, mate.
33 seconds late, Pom. How are you?
Mate, you can do a lot in 33 seconds. I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. I'm very excited because we've had, the week off, and we're back. Footy's back.
Real footy's back. Who cares about all those other games that got played? The Blues are back. We're refreshed. We've already got a couple of confirmed big inclusions. Pom, it's exciting. This is our second live for the week as well. We are absolutely flying this week, mate.
I was good. Hey, if you weren't sick of us before, you'd be sick of us now. Mate, I'm with you. Obviously, a couple of big ins confirmed. We've got the legend that is Harry Mackay. Got slated in my predictions because I brought him in. Nice to be validated by Russell and Voss. Cheers to you, boys. But I think the big story, and I think the only story we really care about is obviously Paddy Dow's going to be dropped. Nah, I'm only kidding. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. It was just a joke. It was a joke. Obviously, the big thing will be Marchbank back in. And obviously, I can't wait to see my DMs after this show. Marchbank in. Absolute great story. First time him and Charlie have been in the same team since 2019.
That's crazy, Pom. It's crazy. I'm really excited to see Caleb Marchbank play because I've got this sick my last memory of him is him being played by Brendan Bolton as like a pinch hit forward and missing a set shot. And it's just stuck with me. And I've needed him to come back and play real football for us because people forget, like, he is an absolute jet. He's what this team has been missing. And I'm sure you'll talk about it a fair bit, but we had plenty of options at the start of this year to play as that third tall. Not one of them on the list can hold a candle to this bloke when he's fit and firing.
Honestly, I said it in my preview, right, about McGovern and going back to the last time Wheatring wasn't in this side and how that backline worked, which, long story short, if you check, when Terry's back at 7, it will be up. It will be up the scout report, but I'll go into great detail of how that works and how it links to Essendon, because Essendon move very similarly with a very lateral ball movement inside 50. But long story short, I said that game was the game everyone started getting excited about Mitch McGovern. Everyone was up and about. He did some nice things and then backed it up against Richmond. Marchbank. Now, this is Pom's big call. We know Pom loves a big call. In my opinion, the best player in the competition at the moment playing from a third position is Tom Stewart. Marchbank shits all over Tom Stewart. Shits all over him. If he can get fit and firing. Now, you may mock me. I guaranteed you Charlie Curnow would lead the Coleman. I guaranteed you Charlie Curnow would kick the most goals for Carlton. Guaranteed you it was 70. Not often wrong when I've got a little bee in my bonnet about a player. Marchbank, mark my words, he plays 8 games. We'll have the Wheatering conversation when he doesn't make All-Australian.
Wow, that is a big call. And it hurts
I'm up
me
and about.
Mate, because I love Tom Stewart, but I'm happy to back you in here. So when the last time Caleb Marchbank played, 2019, he had 13 games that season. In that season, he was ranked elite for contested marks, marks on a lead, and intercept marks. He was also above average for marks. In defense, he was above average for spoils. He was above average for contested defensive one-on-ones. It's not just that he's a third tall. He's just a really good defender. It's just been literally like 3 years since we've seen him. But the kid was, and I know this quote's going to be thrown around a lot this week, but he was the one that GWS was upset to see leave. Of all the players that left, Caleb Marchbank was the one that came to the Blues and they were really upset about missing. Silvani said that. Maybe he said that to justify his own job. Who knows? But that's what he said. Caleb Marchbank was the one that got away. Now we finally, after 3 long years, might get an opportunity to see just what he's got. And another thing to remember, Pom, which we've said, pretty much been the storyline of the year for you and me, is there's room for improvement in this team. There's a lot of room for improvement for Caleb Marchbank as he gets fit. And then you bring Wiedering back again in a few weeks. Gee whiz, it's going to be a tantalising prospect down back.
Well, I mean, if you look at the best backline probably in the last decade, in my opinion, of how it works versus personnel, and I'd love to know the audience's opinion on this, but I would actually say last year's Stephen May, Petty, and Jay Cleaver. Because when you look at it on paper, you think, I can beat that. I can beat that. And I think the most underrated player in the league is Petty last year. Because he's a big, cumbersome bloke, bit like Lewis Young, but how he holds one player away from going into a contest allows Lever and May to do them intercept things. And in my opinion, McGovern was showing signs of Stephen May-like in the first 2 rounds. Marchbank, honestly, I went back and watched that Richmond game that he played, and some of them intercept marks he takes are what the media get their proverbial willies out for when Tom Stewart does it. The fact he's identified the ball, he runs back into the contest, he takes the contact behind him and comes out with the ball. And that is Tom Stewart's strength. And another myriad of Marchbank is he's incredibly, incredibly fast. And that's what people forget about him. He's that triple-edged sword. Do you know what I mean? He's good in the air. He's very good with the ball, but he's deceptively quick as well. So I am raring to go. I do want to just allude to this comment because I haven't smiled today. And Matty Boy is a good friend of the channel. This made me giggle. How is Essendon going to handle Jack Carroll booting it out on the full and shanking kicks? Watch out. I know you love Jack Carroll, really.
The good news is that Essendon have about 21 blokes who play similar to Jack Carroll, so I'm not too stressed about that. Shout out to Matty Boy. He's always funny in the comments. So, Pom, we've talked about Marchbank's strengths, upside, ceiling. What are we expecting from him as a sort of baseline early? Are you putting any expectations on him for the next sort of few weeks until Wiedering comes back?
My expectations are the same as they are with Charlie.
Win the Coleman.
I hold him a little bit differently. I think when you've got that abundance of talent, if he's got the faith in his body, I remember Wiedering saying this about Doc. The trust Doc has in his body is huge. If Marchbank has that trust in his body, I expect him to hit the ground straight away. And I think obviously suspected to play key defender this week. I'm very, very excited about that because I think that whoever plays, I'd imagine Lewis Young takes 2 meter Peter if I was selecting the side. I think Marchbank then has a wonderful opportunity because the way Essendon rotate, interesting Pomstack, second highest percentage of marks taken inside 50 behind Geelong or Essendon. But for them to do that, they very, very, very massively rotate all their rucks and all their taller players through that. So invariably, whoever the second guy is, he has a lot of opportunity to peel off, which Marchbank does. So I expect him to hit the ground running. I'm going to be totally honest.
I love it. I fully love it. Shout out to Paul Sebastiani in the chat for commenting on my wonderfully blue T-shirt.
Mate, it's very blue.
When's Paolo going to update his YouTube profile pic? It's not very representative of what of what the beautiful human he has become.
Well, I've got to say, Paolo's probably the only person with a profile pic who looks 50 years older than he actually is.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like it looks like his granddad or something.
Fuck me. But let's talk about Essendon, obviously. Now, Essendon, I know that People are going to be fearful out there. I mean, when I say people are going to be fearful, there was people fearful about North, but obviously take what we say tonight, that there is a lot of respect for all 17 teams in what they're capable of. That being said, though, fuck Essendon, right? Obviously, the big thing for me, and obviously there's going to be a lot of people in the chat, I imagine, who's a bit wary with the legend that is Harry Mackay coming back. Biggest thing for us to look at here is Essendon are the worst by 7.82% in the comp, behind North, behind Eagles, at one-on-one percentages inside D50. This is a huge problem area, and it's a massive area for their coaching staff because they have lost midfield dominance. Midfield dominance has been seceded, and you've seen Carlton have gained that. And you see the myriad. They were 8th last year. Carlton were 13th. We're in the 8 now because we've gained that. You control the source. I think it was a no-brainer if Harry was even 80% fit to play this week, because that is an area of concern for them. They hemorrhage one-on-one contest lost. And it's interesting, the last time these two boys played together, Harry and Charlie, they'd really found a way to create separation. And if you create separation against Essendon, it is going to be more one-sided than when Margaret Thatcher sent her boys, the British Army, into the Falklands. It was over in, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
I love the goal.
I'm with you. I'm with you in terms of playing Harry. I think Harry on one leg is still a decent shout, and at worst case, he drags a player and creates space for Charlie, who's had 4 players played on him for the last sort of few weeks. I think, and the other thing I think is, I think we see Jack Martin. I know you and I have speculated offline on this. I think we might see Jack Martin back in the team. He's going to be another beneficiary. He's a great marking target. He's a really good in those one-on-one contests. Just needs to convert those opportunities that he does get, because he does hit the scoreboard a lot, just not terribly accurately. I think there's a recipe, as you've pointed out, for some really high scoring potential from us. And I'm actually expecting this to be a really high scoring game for both sides. I just think we're going to score a hell of a lot more than Essendon do.
You're not guaranteeing a win, but you are.
I'll guarantee the win. I haven't even seen the team. I'll guarantee the win. 50 points, guaranteed.
Tell you what, thank you very much for these lovely words as well, guys. I hope my voice is a little bit more easier to listen to than Kelly Underwood, but she does try, God bless her. I mean, obviously, the teams are just coming out, will be out imminently. But a great point here by the young Ari. I'm going to attempt his surname. I'm sorry, Ari. I know we were friends before this attempt. Stamanakos. There we are. I've had a go. We did beat them last year. So, I mean, dare I say it, if David Teague beat you, Voss is pretty capable. He should beat them, shouldn't he?
Well, he should. And I've just pulled up the stats here, Pom. For us, in terms of generating shots at goal, we've got quite a few players who generate over 2 per game. Matt Owies, Silvani and Martin, 2 and 2.1 respectively. That's considered above average for forwards. Paddy Cripps, 2.4 shots at goal per game. That's elite for a midfielder. Motlop, 2.7. Harry, 4.1. And Charlie Curnow, 5.4 shots at goal a game. Mate, you give any of those players 2+ shots a goal against Essendon, who cannot defend one-on-one, there's some real opportunity for scoring power there.
Mate, spot on. And I think, to just add to that as well, I think what is really exciting about Carlton is in the last 5 weeks, Carlton are the number 3 side, as it stands at the moment, for scores from transition. And this is an area of concern for Essendon. Essendon have focused this year 78% of their attack down the left-hand side, which is incidentally where TDK takes a lot of his intercept marks in the last couple of weeks as well. So this will be something that Carlton's score launches have really risen this week. And it's interesting, by 5 weeks ago, Carlton and Essendon were even for score launches. Carlton have now gone up by 31 as a team. So that is a huge thing when you look at Adam Sard. He's a big responsible for that. Doc is. That is a big thing. So for me, with everything taken into account, obviously last week we were very confident against Collingwood. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen, whatnot.
Of course.
But as it stands, if we play our brand, we play our control, yes, kick back. Just come and watch Uncle Pommy on the Friday night stream. I'll be a few beers deep and we'll try and get cancelled like we do every week.
I will say that, Pom, that we can be confident going into games when on paper it makes sense to be confident. It would be a very boring team show if we came out and said, look, we're confident, but, the lightning might strike the ground and the game will get called off. So it's our job to be exciting and confident. And the players the players feed off our energy at the ground, but they're not sitting here watching the team show going, oh, the boys have got us as a shoe-in. I might just take my foot off the pedal. So I think everyone can relax. There was a bit of that coming back our way after the Collingwood game last week. It's like, we don't actually influence the game that much.
Sometimes I dread the day that, like, Charlie Curnow has a really bad day and they ask him, you had 6 shots at goal, 0 goals, 0 behinds. And he's like, yeah, I watched Pom an hour before the game. He told me I was actually a demigod and I get cancelled. But now, obviously, you've got to respect them. So let's talk about them, though. Good question here from Patrick Lane. Who do you think will play on 3 metre Peter? Jesus, he's gained a bit. And Stringer. Guessing man for me, I think that they will play Plowman on Stringer in a kind of stopping role. And I think Young will take the big guy because I think, predicting, I think that they'll try and keep March as loose as possible. Yeah,
I'm with you. I think the exact same. I think we've come to get used to Lockie Plowman playing as a small defender, as a tall defender on small forwards. But he's actually probably better suited to a Stringer type matchup in terms of physicality. And we've seen him do that a couple of times this year, not have to play on the smalls, and he's been a bit better. He's been pretty solid, actually. But we know that they rotate a lot. They'll still rotate some guys through there, but I think you're right. I think they'll be the main matchups. And the only other players that generate shots on goal for Essendon are like Alec Waterman, who, I mean, forgive me, I don't watch a hell of a lot of Essendon. I don't even know if he's the best 22. And Nick Martin, who is simultaneously their best midfielder, best forward, and best defender at the club, despite having only played 6 games. So for me, if they can get the matchups against Wright and Stringer right, we should be doing okay.
I agree they are. Look at that for you, Nick, mate. Customer service here. But no, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not concerned, but let's talk about surprise packets. I've got a surprise packet this week. Someone you think, and this is an audience participation as well, someone you think is going to have an impact on the game that no one's thinking about. And I'm going to go with TDK this week. I've got a feeling that just the way that they play Phillips and Draper, I think he's got a really important game this week. So I think he's going to be a little surprise packet and maybe a sneaky chance of a vote this week.
Yeah, I don't mind that. We should sing his praises. I know I was certainly not 100% confident in him being the number 1 ruck, but he is continuing to prove me wrong. And I think this is another good week to go in there against Sammy Draper. I don't rate Draper that much. His hit out work's pretty solid, but Tommy DeConnick should beat him around the ground. Surprise packet, Pom. It's tough because we got a lot of good players. I'm just looking at the list. I think Nick Newman's going to have another good game. I think he was really important in the Collingwood game. I know we lost, but I think he generated, once they moved him to that sort of defensive wing outlet marquee position, I think he became really important for us. So I'll back him in to have another good game. I think Nick Newman's been solid this year. I think he's been really good.
Oh, I agree. I think Nick Newman, I don't know what the audience and you think about this. It's a big call, obviously, but Nick Newman gives me a lot of Kate Simpson vibes in the terms of you probably don't think of him as good a player as he actually is, but he puts in every week, always 7 out of 10, always 8 out of 10, steady, always reliable as well. He's someone that you can see he's always working really hard with or without the ball. And he kind of reminds me of today's Cade Simpson, a guy that probably you don't look at and go, fuck, he's good. You just look at and you don't really notice him, but you do actually, when you come to think of it, see the effort he's putting in, the intensity he's putting in.
Yeah, he's averaging, just looking at his numbers now, 19.8 disposals a game this season. That's a career high, or that's above his career average. He's above average in handballs, kicks, marks, tackles, meters gained. He's just like putting together just a really solid year. It's not elite. He's not an elite player, but he certainly is just, and maybe it's partly to do with his role. Maybe he doesn't have the most difficult role in the game, but he's just above average across the board. And we've seen quite a few players probably step up this year and become above average where they've previously been average. But no, I've been a big fan of his. Been a big fan of his this year. And he's another one of those guys. And he's really clean by foot as well, or just in general by disposal. He's elite for disposal efficiency. He tends to make smart decisions, not always the most adventurous decisions, Pom. I know sometimes people don't like it when he slows it down and goes backwards or sideways rather than attacking. But I think that's his instruction. And I think all his focus is basically to let's keep the ball moving. Doesn't necessarily have to go forward.
Mate, spot on. And the teams are out. I'm just waiting for confirmation. But everyone, tell you what, I got a lot of hate for dropping stocks, and evidently he's out. But I'm just waiting for my app to update. So I'm waiting for it. Evidently, Jordan Boyd is in.
Yeah, right.
If someone can find it, and oh, here we are. Thank God for that. Thank
As
Christ
we
for
vamped.
that. So let's talk about it. So the teams they've dropped Waterman, Wanganeen, Devon Smith is injured, Redmond, Guelphy and Stringer come in. Carlton have dropped Stocker, Cottrell, Motlop, Dow, Wheater in Boyd, Martin, Marchbank, Mackay, and the legend that is Bam Bam. So not bad.
Yep. So let's go through this. I'll go through this line by line while you type in
Go
whatever
through
you
that
need
line
to
by
type
line
in,
while I update it on our pretty little sheet.
So in the Blues, in the back line, Plowman, Young, Jordan Boyd starting on field according to the team sheet. Half back line, Nick Newman, my boy, Adam Sard at centre half back, and Sam Doherty. In the centre line, Sam Walsh on the wing, Paddy Cripps in the middle, and Lockie O'Brien on the other wing. Half forward, Jack Martin, Harry Mackay, Matt Owies. Full forward line, Zach Fisher, Charlie Curnow, Corey Durden. On the ball, Tom DeConning, Adam Chera, George Hewitt. And on the interchange, Matt Kennedy, Caleb Marchbank, Jack Humes, your boy, and Jack Silvani. Emergencies for this game, Matt Cottrell, Brody Kemp, Jesse Motlop, Will Setterfield. And I would predict, Pom, as you have in your various Excel sheets, that Brody Kemp will be the substitute for us. Any surprises in these outcomes?
Well, I mean, those, like you say, who saw my spreadsheet, apart from Durden coming in, which I think is the only difference to mine. And that's just because in my old age...
Sam Durden, that is.
Yeah, I'm just becoming a bit of a coward in my old age, and I don't fully trust McGovern taking the big job on his own. Yeah, I rate it. I'm interested to see that they went with my opinion on Stocker. I just think Stocker has a lot to learn. I've enjoyed his intent, but that's why I removed him out of the side. I thought I would have played Durden over Boyd and allowed Marchbank to be in that pocket and gone with that. But I really like that team. I think it's got a good makeup. For me, the reason that I went with Stocker out, though, is I just thought that intensity is one thing. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. I think he needs to work on his ball use. And I think the only way you can do that is in VFL. And I think he just needs to sharpen that up. It wasn't a nasty thing. But I like that. I think that's sent the right message. Noons, I think, for me, is the most obvious. That was a change to mine. I'd gone a bit braver. But I think Noons gives him that security, doesn't it? It gives him that security to float players on around the ball. And I think that's probably why Cottrell's come out because of Boyd, because Boyd naturally overlaps. But aside from that, I don't mind it, actually.
No, it's starting. It's getting ever so close to that fabled best 22 that teams very rarely seen. We're slowly inching towards that, Pom. We're still missing what was our number one ruckman. We're still missing the best, one of the best defenders in the game in Wiedering, but we're starting to edge closer. And on paper, it's a very attractive looking team, isn't it? I think Motlop. I've seen a few comments about Motlop. I think young guy like that, particularly in that role, if you're not applying the pressure or hitting the scoreboard as much as you need to, I think the best thing for him is to go back and develop in the VFL. I think we talked about it before, Pom, that it feels like Voss, when he does bring players up and reward them, they are going to get a couple of weeks opportunity as long as they're not feeling a injury, like we've seen with Paddy Dow here. So Motlop was elevated, came in, did some nice things, played some games. He takes that experience. Now he goes back and continues to develop in the reserves. And I mean, pretty much because you bring in Jack Martin, and Jack Martin's a better option. They don't play the same role, but Jack Martin is a better option in that forward line currently than Jesse Motlop is.
Well, I think if you actually look, I think to answer it, a lot of people are saying why Stocker out. I think you look at Port, what they've done very well is integrate youngsters. Big thank you to Ugar, $20, love the ins, but got to keep Stocker. I think Stocker's still not the finished article, and he will have a long career. Normal teams, actually, fuck it, I'll use what I was going to say. Proper teams have a little bit of responsibility to these young players that say, right, this isn't quite there yet. Go back and work on it. Stocker will be back in a couple of weeks. So it doesn't
100%.
surprise me. Question from my Scottish brother. Can you genuinely bring someone in like Durden and expect them to play the following week? Will they keep up with the team and their game plan? I'd say Durden, he only played, 7 days ago? So I think fitness-wise, if you're playing him as a stopper role, I didn't mind it. But I think it's solid. Do I like
I think we'll see him sooner rather than later, by the way.
What?
I think we'll see him sooner rather than later. I'm surprised he's not playing.
I do. I mean, but for me, I like it. I mean, at the end of the day, it makes sense. I'm not surprised. I was the one who dropped Stocker, so I'm not surprised. For me, I think that makes you a bit more hungry. I really do. I think it makes you hungry. And then to answer the Dow one, I think people asked the question last week, why has Dow got 58% of game time? There's a reason. He played 12 minutes across the half forward and a rest and had 0 touches, even though the ball was around there. So for me, that answers your question. You can't rotate him. So ergo, you can't take 20% off Cripps, Chera, Walsh, Hewitt, because it's winning. So for me, that answers the question. And until Dow can do that comfortably at VFL level, unfortunately, I think that's why he'll be at North. And to answer your question here, this is a question for everyone. Thoughts on Jordan Boyd, $2.99 from Kusa. I'm not excited about it, but I do understand that transition is one of their bugbears. And I do think that that's probably why they've gone that route. I do think that Boyd's genuinely, on the whole, is a better user of the football than Stocker at the moment. But I don't think that'll be permanently. But at the moment, yes.
I also think they're probably it's the kind of hedging bets, probably looking a little bit to the future. And I know we don't probably need to. We're still a really young side, but they're looking at guys like Sam Doherty, who's had health issues in the past and injury issues in that position. Nick Newman's one of our older players who can play in that position. So part of it, I think, is as well is just seeing what you've got. Seeing what you've got with this guy. They clearly rate something about him and giving him opportunities in games that, in theory, I know every game's important, but this isn't a final for us, this game. You can afford to trial Jordan Boyd and keep working things through. And as you said, there's a lot of overlap. They still haven't settled on the wing positions, and they probably won't till free agency or trade period finishes this year.
Mate, spot on. And I suppose we finished the show. Audience participation required. Predictions for this week.
Well, I'm guaranteeing the win, and I'm guaranteeing a 50-point win. So we're going to win. It's going to be 116 to 66. So we're going to win by.
I'm tricky that.
Is that 50 points or is that 60? I can't do maths.
If that is the exact score, tell you what, it'll change my life. I'm going with a 7-goal win. So last time I was at school, 7. That's what, 41 points.
7 times 6, 42.
42. Yeah, there we are. Thank you. Yeah, so I think that's it. What have we got in the chat? We've got lose by 5 goals. Jesus, Ryan.
Whiz.
Come on, Ryan. You're better than that, bruv. 28-point win, says Masaka. Milton, 38. Big Robbie in the house.
Robbie with the huge donation too.
Matty turns me on here. 69. Good work. Good work, bruv. 25, 150 from Bugs Bell, the legend that is Nicky Webb. He says 8 goals. And Robbie, Jesus Christ, $31 donation. Much love. Ben 85. Me old mate Patrick, 246. Mate, you guys turned me on. Well, what are you doing this week, Mr. Blackdog?
I mean, the week's almost over. You can go to jockreynolds.com.au, check out this week's Supercoach podcast. There's a game tonight, so if you are a fantasy player, you need to set your lineups within the next half an hour because there is a game tonight. But other than that, Pom, I'll just be floating around. I'll probably go to the game tomorrow. I'm feeling better, so I missed the Collingwood game, so I'm very excited. But if I don't go, I'll jump in and watch the live with you.
Mate, looking forward to it. You can join me on the live if you are interstate. You've got the spicy cough or whatever's wrong with you. You can sit and chill out with me on the Friday. I will be doing the watch-alongs as I always do. And if not, we'll see you through the weekend. If I don't see you through the week, I'll see you through the window. We'll see you next week. Much love. Go Blues.
Go Blues.